Freeks is a pretty oddball game. Small studio and a tight-knit community centered around vehicle combat racing and capture the flag. And by flag, he means bomb. It's got the Warhammer 40k orcs, and they seem to be having a good time. And a bunch of their vehicles from the tabletop. Hey, wait a minute, didn't they forget this guy? I've played it a little bit, and I'm not sure I can easily recommend it after playing a couple hours. What I can vouch for is that they nailed the movement for a tight vehicle arena shooter. If you use a keyboard and mouse or you're a controller warrior, the movement is surprisingly in-depth. If you want a good primer, the lead game designer made a solid movement guide over a year ago. It's really well made and explains what you need. Watch it if you haven't. I think I ended up as the fastest driver in Speed Freaks. Or at least one of the fastest. And I wanted to make like a more advanced guide that breaks down Dash 180s more while including other cool stuff we found over the year. To try and review the basics real fast, movement on the keyboard is W, A, S, and D, left stick on the controller. All of the light vehicles in the game have dash on F, or the top button on controller. Shift or left trigger are a boost indicated by how much fire you have left in this meter down here. The vehicle's handbrake is spacebar, or the right button on controller. And this is where things start to get interesting. Holding handbrake while steering will cause your vehicle to pivot drift around one of its wheels. So if you're holding front right and handbrake, you'll pivot around your front right tire. If you're holding back right and handbrake, you'll pivot around your rear right tire. In a way, you're almost selecting which tire you want to pivot your vehicle around. When you combine a dash with a pivot drift, you can spin your vehicle around for a brief moment without losing any speed. This is what the community calls a dash 180. It isn't always 180 degrees, but it's effectively just dashing and reorienting your vehicle in a new direction. And because dash immediately redirects you in the direction you're looking, you can quickly turn around or take extremely sharp corners. Almost every vehicle has a limited firing angle, so the player that repositions themselves better will always have a strong advantage. It's hard to spell out in detail, but let's try. We'll assume you're driving fast with forward and boost. Then we'll need a dash input combined with a left or right pivot drift. All in all, 3 buttons in a stick input or 5 keys on a keyboard. And this is just to get started. The problem with the dash 180 input is that if you hold it, your vehicle will spin recklessly. It's up to you as a driver to decide when to let go of the handbrake input. It's basically a timing minigame. Too late and you'll overspin, too early and you'll barely spin at all. To make matters worse, the shape of the ground under your tires affects how quickly they regain traction. If there's a hill involved, my advice is to pivot drift up and into the hill, so if the hill is on your right, pivot drift clockwise. Once you let go of handbrake, and your vehicle settles pointing in the direction you want it to go, you may need to start holding reverse if you started the maneuver facing forwards. On controller, this almost feels like a half-circle sweep. On keyboard, the inputs boil down to pressing 5 keys all at once for a brief amount of time, then lifting your fingers and holding a new forward direction. It's a lot to take in all at once, so I'd recommend practicing before a match starts or using a solo race. The good news is that out in the wild, you can get away with pretty sloppy dash 180s in most circumstances. Precise, snappy, clean dash 180s in practice are great, but out in the wild it's whatever works. As if this already isn't useful enough, using a dash 180 on a ramp seems to give you extra momentum somehow. I don't fully understand it, but basically when you dash 180, you sort of fling your vehicle further than you're normally supposed to be able to go. The Scrapjet and KBB deserve special mention here, as their abilities combo well with this tech to jump exceedingly far and fast. I guess the downside is that you'll frequently land in reverse. You generally don't want to drive backwards for too long unless it's the final stretch for a bomb delivery. It's just too easy to lose speed to the air brake. Best case scenario, your landing can combo into a dash 180 to swing yourself forwards again. This game kind of feels like it's barely holding itself together, but this dash implementation is what really got me hooked on this movement system, keeping me around. And then they added a drift input. I'm not going to speculate here, this was just a pretty weird addition, and a lot of players don't even seem to use it much, but it is there. To start a drift, you simply have to steer left or right while moving fast enough, then give your handbrake a very quick tap. The payoff for mastering it is pretty subtle, but it does help you go faster in 2 ways. For starters, your boost meter starts refilling immediately, allowing you to extend how long you're boosting if you can incorporate this tight turn into your movement. Second, and again it's pretty subtle, your vehicle actually picks up speed during a drift. This means that you can approach anything that vaguely looks like a ramp at an angle, start drifting into it, and then dash and fling yourself over the ramp to just jump really far. This gives vehicles with dash weird flight-like properties, which is kind of funky. I love it. Oh, and while the tanks can't dash, they can use the handbrake to pivot drift or drift normally and refill their boost. I don't play much tank in this game, but it's nice to see that they have at least access to some of the fun movement tech. There's one more technique I wanted to cover. When you fling yourself off of a jump, the game will normally help orient your vehicle to help land. Pressing handbrake early will interrupt the game from auto-orienting your car. If you time it right, you can end up with this yaw spin, which we've taken to call this a flat spin. At first it seemed more like a useless piece of trivia, and something to do just for fun, but I'm starting to think there's more to this technique on certain jumps and ramps, as it can help you get the fling you need to jump unusually far, while allowing you to land mostly forwards. All you need to do is dash 180 off of a ramp, let go of handbrake, and then hold handbrake again really quickly to cancel the auto orientation. The timing ends up being a little precise. I think you need to let go of handbrake after all 4 tires leave the ground, then repress handbrake a little after that to cancel the auto orientation. You can also just spam handbrake and see if that works for you. With all of those advanced techniques covered, sorta, I've also wanted to quickly touch on some settings and configurations that might help. If you're on mouse and keyboard, the keyboard is quite cramped. Most players I've talked to end up moving handbrake or dash to a side mouse button if you have one. I'd recommend moving dash if you're just starting out. On controller, your sensitivity is at odds with itself. You need the sensitivity high enough to quickly pivot the camera around, but fine enough to be able to aim more precisely. I think most mouse and keyboard players will have an advantage here. I'd recommend trying the setting at around 40 or 50% and then adjusting it from there. Analog Dead Zone currently has a bug when set to high values. Make sure this is set as low as it can. All of the throttle and speed sliders for controller and keyboard should probably be set to 100%. There are some rare cases I can think of where you might not want them this high, but if you're just starting out, there's very little drawback to setting these all to 100. I have no idea what aim smoothing is. I don't even think it's real. If you play a lot of time trials, I found a cheap foot switch could save me a lot of hand strain instead of smashing shift for hours on end. And that's about it for now. I hope to see you out in Kill Convoy or in the Discord. Let me know if these explanations were helpful, and have a great and wonderful rest of your day.
Hello. What?
Oh, Redden,
Nope.
Redden, can I give a pass? I can, but was it worth?
No, you got it back.
Okay. Let's go, dude.
Pile. Go.